Imagine having a colleague who's read every book ever written, never complains, never sleeps, and can draft perfect emails in seconds. A colleague so powerful it can write entire weeks worth of social media content in minutes, code entire iPhone apps, and even analyze years worth of customer data to give you real-time insights from it. Now imagine that same colleague also invents customer testimonials that never happened, writes code which looks perfect but crashes the second you try to run it, and even gets basic arithmetic wrong. That is the reality of large language models such as ChatGPT and Claude, incredibly powerful yet fundamentally misunderstood. Now, I'm Connor Sunderland, and at my 35-person marketing agency, we have completely transformed the way we work using AI. We're creating content in minutes instead of days, generating ideas which would have taken weeks of brainstorming, and automating tasks which used to suck up our most valuable resource, human creativity. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly how these systems work without any of the technical jargon. You'll see why they're not scary alien brains, but actually incredibly sophisticated pattern matching machines that can uniquely complement your human abilities. Let's begin. Now, before we dive in, I want to share something personal. I think we are at a pivotal point in human history, a time where the tools we create will either dramatically raise our living standards as a species or potentially cause us significant harm. My mission here is simple: to maximize the possible benefit conferred to humanity by AI while minimizing the potential downside, and I believe that that begins with education. Because here's something I've noticed from implementing AI systems within my own business and even for a number of my clients. The people who fear AI the most understand it the least. And the people who are getting incredible results with AI across their businesses, within their careers, and within their personal lives aren't necessarily technical geniuses. They just understand what these systems are and how they work on a basic level, which isn't even that difficult. So in the next few minutes, I'm going to share you two concepts which have completely transformed the way I look at AI systems, particularly large language models. I call these the word prediction party and the world's best parrot. Once you see these, you will never look at AI the same way again. For now though, let's just answer the question that you're probably asking yourself, which is what is actually going on inside of these AI systems which suddenly seem to be everywhere? Let me start with a simple game that I want you to play along with. I'm going to give you a sentence and I want you to be able to guess the last word. Mary went to the shop to buy some milk, and what word would you put next? Maybe eggs, bread, butter. Now try this one. The astronaut stepped onto the moon's surface and took one small. You probably thought step, right? This simple game of predicting the next word is essentially what large language models do, just at an incredibly large, mind-boggling scale. They're essentially the world champions of text prediction. But here's a critical thing to understand. When an LLM predicts the word step after one small, it's not because it understands the moon landing or Neil Armstrong or even what the word step means. It's because that in the vast amounts of text that it's been trained on, the word step typically comes after one small. The LLM is detecting a pattern, not understanding a concept like a human brain. Think of it like this. If I show you thousands of photos of dogs and then show you another photo of a dog, you're going to understand that it's a dog. However, being a human being, you also understand what a dog is. You understand that it needs to be walked. You understand that you can pet a dog. You understand it needs to be fed, and so on. An LLM only has the pattern recognition part. It can identify the text patterns associated with dogs with incredible accuracy, but it has no actual conception of dogness. After giving you these examples, I want to give you a simple and succinct definition of what LLMs are. LLMs are a deep learning AI trained on massive amounts of texts to be able to generate and predict human-like language. It's essentially like a supercomputer trained to be able to predict the next word in any body of text. So it's not actually thinking, it's really just the best magic trick you've ever seen. It doesn't understand meaning like you do as a human being, but it is incredibly good at predicting which word comes next. What makes LLMs so impressive is the sheer scale of them. GPT-4, for example, has hundreds of billions of parameters. These are essentially adjustable dials that get fine-tuned during training. It's seen billions of books, articles, social media posts, and more. As it makes these predictions during training, it gets told when it's wrong through a process called backpropagation, where it goes back to the beginning and then tries to predict the text again, which each subsequent guess, it gets told how accurate it is and makes a slight tweak to each one of these parameters or dials so that next time it can make an even better prediction. And it does this billions and billions, trillions of times until it's able to predict things with remarkable accuracy. Once again, it is not thinking. It's like the best magic trick you've ever seen in your life. This is why I use the analogy of the world's best parrot. Imagine a parrot who would memorized every single book in the world's largest library. They can recall passages, make connections between different texts, and even generate new content which stylistically matches any author. But, and this is very crucial to understand, they don't actually understand what they have memorized. It's like an amazing parrot without an owner to prompt it. And this really brings us to our next question. How exactly do these systems learn all of these patterns? To understand how LLMs work, allow me to offer you an analogy. Imagine two different people are working at a massive library. First, we have the library curator, someone who has meticulously organized every book, can tell you where anything is, and can retrieve information in just seconds. Then we have the librarian, someone who has actually read all of the books, has understood the texts, can explain concepts to visitors, and can even tell them when information is wrong or outdated. LLMs are library curators, not librarians. During training, an LLM is exposed to an enormous amount of text, basically a significant portion of the entire internet, including books, websites, articles, social media posts, and more. But it doesn't read this text like we do. Instead, it's looking for statistical patterns. After consuming an insane amount of data and recognizing patterns within the text, the model assigns a level of probability to a couple of words which could potentially come next. Whichever word it believes to have the highest probability of coming next will be the word that it spits out. This is why, despite the incredible things you can do with LLMs, it can often get basic arithmetic or basic facts wrong. It's not understanding anything that you give it, it is simply playing a word prediction game. So here's how it works in the simplest terms possible. During training, the model gets asked a question and it has no idea what the answer should be. It then makes a random guess, and it is essentially always wrong in the beginning until it fine-tunes its dials. For example, we ask it, Michael Jordan played the sport of. The model begins by saying tennis. Then it gets told, nope, the correct word was actually basketball. And the model says, okay, well, let me tweak my internal dials just a little bit. Then it does it again and again and again and again, trillions of times overall. And what's crazy is over enough repetitions, these tiny tweaks add up and actually become something approximating fluency. The model goes from sounding like a confused toddler to sounding like someone who's read the entire internet 10 times over and never forgets a single word. When ChatGPT or Claude responds to you, what's really happening is a sophisticated probability dance. For each position in the response, the model calculates the likelihood of every possible next word based on the text that preceded it. Based on the text that came before, perhaps the following words could be either the, dog, should, or despite. The model assigns probabilities to all of these words and then picks the most probable one. Then it does it again for the next word and the next and the next, building its response one token at a time. This process explains one of the most puzzling aspects of using LLMs, which is their tendency to hallucinate or get things wrong. When an LLM generates text about, let's say, a medical condition, it's not retrieving a fact that it knows to be true. It's generating what it calculates to be the most probable text to follow it based on all of the data it's been trained on. It's like if you asked someone who had memorized entire medical textbooks but didn't really understand how to administer treatment to a patient. They might tell you something that sounds authoritative and follows all of the linguistic patterns of medical advice, but it could be completely wrong. Now that we've gone over how these systems work on a core level, I want to address the elephant in the room. How do they actually differ to how human brains work? And how can we work with these systems to supercharge ourselves? There's a crucial misconception that we need to address, which is that LLMs are not artificial human brains. They work fundamentally differently from how human beings understand and think about the world. To help you think about this, let's think about the difference between a highway and a dirt road which goes through the mountains. A highway is specifically engineered for one purpose, to get vehicles from A to B as quickly and efficiently as possible. It's straight, it's flat, and it's optimized for one single task. A mountain dirt road, on the other hand, wasn't ever designed. It emerged naturally over time as human beings and animals alike found the most natural path to follow over challenging terrain. It winds around obstacles, follows natural contours and barriers, and serves multiple purposes. Not just transportation, but also access to water, shelter, and resources. Human cognition is like that mountain dirt road. It evolved over millions of years to help us survive in complex environments. Our brains were never optimized solely for language and prediction. They developed to help us find food, find shelter, create social bonds, and ultimately develop culture. LLMs, by contrast, are like highways, engineered for the sole purpose of predicting text. They're incredibly efficient at one task, but that's all that they're built to do. Here are some critical components that human brains have that LLMs lack. First, context through embodiment. Our understanding of concepts around us is fundamentally grounded in our physical experience of the world. We know what hot means because we've touched something hot. We understand what running means because we felt our muscles strain and felt our heart beat through our chest. LLMs have never experienced any of these things. LLMs have never experienced anything physical, they've only seen text describing these experiences. Second difference is agency. Human beings have goals, desires, and intentions. We act upon the world to achieve specific outcomes which we desire. LLMs have no intrinsic goals, they simply respond to inputs with the most probable output. They don't want anything. Third is consciousness. We have subjective experiences, the taste of coffee or chocolate, the subjective feeling of sadness, the sensation of cold water on our skin. LLMs, on the other hand, have no subjective experience whatsoever. There's nobody home inside of ChatGPT or Claude. Even if they're not conscious, it's a pretty incredible way to think about all these things and what a marvelous human achievement they actually are. When you interact with an LLM, you're not interacting with another intelligence. You're actually interacting with the statistical average of all human language on the internet. I think even if they're not conscious, that is absolutely incredible to think about. And to think of that on a scale of human achievement is something that really inspires me and makes me proud to be a human being. And it also explains why LLMs are so good at sounding human. They've captured all of the patterns of how human beings communicate, but there's no understanding, no consciousness, and no intention behind their response. And this is incredibly good news. It means that we should be thinking of LLMs as highly sophisticated tools that we can use to complement our human abilities rather than another artificial mind. Just as a calculator is better than a human being at arithmetic but doesn't understand mathematics, LLMs are better than human beings at certain language tasks, but they don't understand language. This brings us to perhaps the most exciting part, how LLMs and human beings can work together, each contributing their unique strengths to achieve outcomes that neither could achieve alone. I love to think of this partnership as being similar to how a calculator can help enhance a mathematician's abilities. The calculator doesn't replace mathematical thinking, it simply handles the heavy lifting so that the mathematician can focus on the higher level concepts and creativity behind the mathematics. Let's quickly break down what each brings to the table here. LLMs excel at processing and generating text at incredible speed. Rapid recall of their training data, though not always accurately. Consistency and tirelessness, working with structured information, and generating variations and options. Human beings excel at understanding meaning and context, critical thinking and judgment, creativity and innovation, emotional intelligence, and ethical decision making. Let me share you a real transformation that we've experienced at my marketing agency to drive this point home. Before implementing AI, our strategists and account managers were spending up to 50% of their time on copywriting tasks. This includes writing email briefs, creating automated email sequences, creating variations to split test, and more. This was necessary work, but it was also consuming valuable bandwidth from our very talented team members. This then led to a very real problem. Because these team members were focused so much on the heavy lifting of copywriting, they weren't able to focus on running enough split tests across our clients' accounts. We knew the consistent testing of high leverage variables was what was going to drive growth for these accounts over the long term, but the day-to-day content creation demands left all of the strategic work on the back burner. But since integrating LLMs into our workflow, we have seen a dramatic shift in events. Copywriting time has decreased by nearly half. The number of split tests that we run for clients has doubled in most cases. Our quarterly client roadmaps are more sophisticated and get implemented more thoroughly. And team members are feeling far more fulfilled by focusing on strategy and creative work instead of just production. Here's what this looks like in practice. When we need a new automated email sequence for one of our clients, instead of our strategist spending 2 hours writing 5 variations, they spend 15 minutes crafting one thoughtful prompt and guiding the AI to create 20 variations. They then apply their expertise and knowledge to select and refine the best options. The result isn't just efficiency, it's that our best people can now focus their time on what really moves the needle, which is analyzing test results, identifying growth opportunities, and developing sophisticated strategies that compound over time. This hybrid approach works well because we're leveraging the complementary skills of both. The LLM handles the low-level language generation, the what word should come next bit, while human beings focus on the parts which require understanding, judgment, and creative direction. It's like if you had to choose between having 1,000 interns who can write very quickly versus a couple of incredible strategists who can think deeply. Now imagine having both. That is the power of the human-AI partnership. And we're seeing this pattern in industries across the world. Doctors use AI to draft patient notes while focusing on diagnosis and care. Lawyers are using AI to summarize case studies while using their judgment and expertise to guide strategy. Teachers are using AI to generate practice questions while they focus on student care and engagement. In each case, the human being isn't replaced, they're elevated. They can focus on the uniquely human aspects of what they do while the AI focuses on language generation. But to make this partnership work, and going back to my mission in the beginning of this video of maximizing the possible benefit to humanity from AI and minimizing the potential downsides, we need a new kind of literacy. This literacy is an understanding of how to effectively communicate with and direct these AI systems. Just as previous technological revolutions required new forms of literacy, from reading to computer skills, so too will this revolution require its own new set of competencies. Let's start with the foundation: prompt engineering. This is simply the skill of communicating effectively with these AI systems. Think of it like learning to use a search engine back in the early 2000s. At first, people would type full questions into search engines such as Google. Where is the closest pizza restaurant to my house? Eventually, they would get more refined and learn how to work with the search engine and just type in pizza near me. Prompt engineering follows similar principles, but with more nuance. Here are 3 basic techniques that we use daily at my agency. 1. Be specific about format and context. Instead of saying write me an email, try write a follow-up email to a potential client who expressed interest but hasn't responded in 2 weeks. Use a warm, professional tone and include a clear call to action. The second is to include examples of style and approach. Instead of create a social media post, type in create a LinkedIn post in the style of this example, then give it an example. The topic should be, and then give it the topic. Number 3 is to iterate and refine. Do not expect perfection on the first try. Give feedback and direction. You can give it something like, that's too formal, make it more conversational and cut the length down by 30%. The second crucial skill is evaluating these AI outputs. Remember, LLMs don't understand truth, they understand plausible text that could come next. This means that they always need human verification. Develop the habits of asking, is this factually correct? Does this contain logical inconsistencies? Is the AI making up sources or data? And is this ethically appropriate? On the ethics side, remember that you are solely responsible for any content that you create with AI, that AI doesn't understand ethics or truth, and that it always needs human direction, and that is your responsibility. These considerations aren't just philosophical, they are practical concerns which affect trust, reputation, and legal compliance. As an example, in a 2023 case, attorneys representing a client against Avianca Airlines submitted a legal brief containing fictitious cases generated by ChatGPT. The court identified the non-existent cases and imposed a $5,000 fine on the lawyers and their firm for acting in bad faith. You do not ever want to find yourself in this position. The good news is that AI literacy follows a very basic learning curve. Most people start with basic prompts, experience some frustration and inconsistent results, and then have an aha moment when they figure out how to communicate with the LLM effectively. Within a few weeks of dedicated practice, you can develop skills which will put you ahead of 95% of people in interacting with these tools. And remember, you don't need to become a technical expert. Just as you can drive a car without understanding the internal workings of a combustion engine, you can use AI effectively without understanding the background of transformer archetypes or of tokenization. What matters is developing an intuitive feel for how these systems respond and directing them towards your desired outcomes. Now, let's talk about your next steps for putting these guidelines into action. We've covered a lot of ground today, from understanding what's really going on inside of LLMs to seeing how they can complement human abilities and exploring the new literacy skills that we need to develop. Let's recap the key insights. 1. LLMs are pattern recognition machines, not artificial minds. Number 2, they excel at generating language but have no understanding or consciousness. Number 3, the most powerful approach is a human-AI partnership that leverages the strengths of both. And number 4, developing AI literacy is becoming essential across all industries. To help you put these concepts into practice, I've developed a comprehensive AI guide in the description of this video that you can get fully free. This free resource includes how LLMs work inside out, step-by-step exercises to improve your AI literacy, 20+ proven prompt templates that we use at my marketing agency, ethical guidelines for responsible AI use, and case studies showing real-world applications of these AI systems. Let me leave you with this thought. Throughout history, the most successful people weren't those who resisted these technological changes, but those who understood them deeply enough to harness their power while retaining their uniquely human perspective. We're standing at the beginning of a new era, one where the partnership between human creativity and these AI systems will fundamentally change industries, solve previously intractable problems, and open doors to possibilities that we're just now beginning to understand. Every major technological revolution has sparked this same cycle of fear and opportunity. When electricity was new, people feared it would cause health problems and even moral decay. When computers emerged, many people feared that they would eliminate human value. Yet in every case, those who leaned in, who committed to understanding the new tools rather than fearing them, didn't just survive the transition, they thrived to a degree never seen before. This moment is no different. These AI systems are not mysterious alien intelligences. They're tools we created, tools we understand, and tools that we control. The future belongs to those who partner with AI rather than those who compete with it. And that future, well, it's brighter, more creative, and more abundant than anything we've ever seen before. This isn't the end of human creativity and value. It's a renaissance, and you're just in time to be a part of it.